properly constructed building is expected to stand the test of time, at least for a century. However, in recent times, incessant building collapse in various parts of the country has been giving various arms of the Nigerian government and the public nightmares in the wake of the enormous loss of huge investment in these properties and that of human lives. The Federal Capital Territory has also had its own fair share of building collapse. The recent one is the collapse of a four-story building in Daffy Life Camp Extension, which experts in the building environment attribute to lowered professional standards and negligence on the side of professionals in the construction industry, among other issues. This will form the thrust of Saturday Discourse this week. As we welcome you to today's edition, my name is Tessie Omiri. You're welcome. Thank you for staying tuned. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has departed Abuja for Guinea-Bissau to attend the 63rd Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government. The summit, which takes place on Sunday, July 19, is expected to address memoranda on processing sub-regional issues, including report of the 50th Ordinary Session of the Mediation and Security Council, covering security challenges faced by the member countries. Other items selected for discussion include memoranda on ECOWAS single currency program and report on obstacles to free movement of goods on the Lagos corridor. President Tinubu is accompanied by some members of the Presidential Advisory Council and other top government officials. He is expected back in the country at the end of the meeting. And Anambra State Committee of Inquiry set up to investigate UTME results for Ms. Ejikeme Joy Mesoma has indicted her, saying the result is fake. Meanwhile, Romanus Ejikeme Mesoma's father has tendered an unreserved apology to JAM and Nigerians at large, saying his daughter lied to him initially.
My daughter didn't open up to me on time. She didn't. When I realized the mistake she did, I blame my daughter. I was supposed not to do this kind of thing. Because every day we tell him, Mesoma, be careful, you know that you are a star, so that you not dent your image. But I'm still apologizing to JAM and Nigerians to pardon her.
And sequel to report by Committee of Inquiry set up as demanded by some Nigerians to look into the Mesoma saga. The report has vindicated the board. In a statement signed by the board's head of public affairs and protocol, Dr. Fabian Benjamin says the incident has further reinforced the position of the board that its system was not and cannot be compromised, adding that the board has built a reputation in terms of conduct of credible examinations over the years and cannot afford to fail the nation at this critical juncture of its development. The board further appealed to well-meaning Nigerians who may wish to support and encourage healthy competition by awarding scholarships and other honors to deserving candidates not to be discouraged, but always verify from the board any claim, no matter how it is, but put forward by candidates. The board also set the age of the candidate right, as available data gives her age as 19 against 16 years old. JAM commends Anambra State government for its patriotism and unbiased posture through the national challenging period and congratulate Ms. Ume Kamsichukwu Ikechinyere as the best scorer in the 2023 UTME exercise. And away from education, the need for concerted efforts towards investing and promoting bioeconomy for food security, creation of jobs and enhancement of renewable energy was a standpoint of stakeholders at the North Central Regional Awareness and Sensitization Workshop organized by Budget and National Planning Arm of the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Blessing Damfulani has more.
With emphasis on cassava bioethanol value chain, the workshop, according to the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Nebe Olisa Anako, in a message, is aimed at engaging critical stakeholders in bioeconomy policy towards promoting sustainable economic growth, job creation, poverty reduction, as well as boosting food sufficiency.
The country at this time needs an approach that will increase food production, youth employment, and increase growth through the provision of industrial feedstock and exportable products to boost our economy.
Stakeholders at the forum, including the Vice Chancellor, Nasarawa State University, KEFI, Professor Suleiman Bala Muhammad, expressed optimism that if properly harnessed, the bioeconomy through cassava bioethanol value chain will unlock economic resource in converting bio-waste to bio-wealth.
We'll create an ecosystem of young people embracing this technology and converting everything about the environment into gold.
It's an excellent workshop. It's going to galvanize production of cassava and the understanding of the various value chain associated with it.
Some participants share their expectations.
Nigeria can gainfully employ the youths, mostly in the rural community and women, to go into massive cassava production for wealth creation and job creation.
We are going to share this idea together to ensure that we improve the life of our economies in our country.
Theme of the workshop is knowledge transfer, cassava and bioethanol value chain. In KEFI, Blessing Damfulani, NTA News.
Now, barely a week ago, the Federal Capital Territory witnessed a disaster of yet another collapsed building, a 4-story building at Dafe District Lifetime Extension. Onotu Yakubu brings us updates of the situation.
The excavators are still in overdrive. In the same vein, search and rescue operatives intensifies direct manual digs through the rubble of the collapsed structure. It has been over 24 hours now since the search and rescue operations commenced after the 4-story building went down. 9 laborers working on site who were trapped in the aftermath of the disaster have been rescued through quick emergency response and identified by the site supervisor. However, there is an objective to establish for a fact that no other person is left behind in the ruins.
Looking at the environment, you know that some of them, they don't have where they live. Some of them normally come to stay in uncompleted buildings like this, and that is why the search is still on. Operation will continue until we get to the basement of this building and we are sure that no one is trapped. That is when we now call the operations off.
Early hour showers in the FCT delayed resumption of the operation this morning, but operators of the machines returned to duties as the rain subsided. While they dig through the piles, eagle eyes of the team scout for discoveries.
Excavation is ongoing, and our men are on ground in case there's going to be any people rescued alive. We can give backup, we can give support.
No fault has been established to ascertain the cause of the collapse, but the team here are mission focused to get to the basement to establish certainty. In Abuja, Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Thank you, Onotu, for that update, which happens to be our background this evening discussing building collapse in the FCT. And joining us virtually to discuss the recurring incidents of building collapse is the past chairman, Nigerian Institute of Architects, FCT, Nina Nimibrix. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you. Thank you for joining
Excellent.
us.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay, we are discussing building collapse. Now, one building collapse too many. What do you
Yeah.
think could be responsible?
Okay. Thank you very much for that opening. It's a multiplicity of things. It's I think generally it's difficult to place responsibility on one thing exactly. But if you could give me just 2 minutes, let me read. I made a few notes just a few minutes before this interview, which I think it will be
Okay, go
good to
ahead.
read out to you. Excellent. Thank you. Now, concerning building collapse, we must appreciate that nothing happens, nothing exists in isolation. Something always leads to something. Okay. Now, collapse doesn't just drop from the sky. It's a product of a process. There is always a process that leads to it. And please, let's bear in mind, whether it's in the FCT or anywhere, that process will always play out. So collapse is always a function of a process. Now, buildings and infrastructure in general are procured through a very definitive value chain or series of steps. And I'll quickly run through this list. It's a brief one. You know, the starting is that an urban or social or business or personal need is identified. And then, of course, inside that, the general financials, the bankability, the funding and all of that is clearly understood. Once that is done, it's good to carry out a general feasibility. General feasibility should be conducted, of course, where the site is, where it's located, the development controls around that site, around that region, and the context. Of course, this is where issues like flooding and floodplains come in. Of course, we're also dealing with perennially. We've been dealing with flooding of estates. This is another one of those issues, but let me leave that for now. Then after that, a design team, and I stress this now, a design team is professionally engaged. I repeat that word, professionally engaged. Now, generally, these teams, of course, through this, an architect has already been providing some of these services I've listed, but through this, an architect-led team, or if it's an overly engineering intervention, an architect or engineer-led team, registered professionals again. In other words, registered with the relevant bodies. Then after that, design submissions are made and duly considered, and of course, statutory approval. In other words, approval by the whatever statutory bodies are relevant. Government approvals are secured. Then the procurement chain and the participants of that chain are duly established. And I stress that because once there is no audit trail behind any one of these participants, anything is possible. I go on. Supervisory oversight by accredited professionals. Again, I stress that word, accredited professionals, because in the event of any challenge, there is a line of command, there's a line of recourse that is provided by law. In other words, whatever professional organizations. Find the last point I'm going to make here before I go into my closure is professionalism, both within the statutory authorities and within the services ecosystem. Now, when I say the services ecosystem, I'm talking about architecture, engineering, surveying, town planning, whatever. That entire services ecosystem. There's got to be professionalism inside there. And by professionalism, I mean you are dealing with licensed professionals so that in the event of any challenge, not only can you track these individuals or these entities, you have an organization, a professional body or institute, as the case may be, that can help you with that process. So
Okay,
finally, before I hand back to you,
go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
now
Finally.
critical at every stage of this chain I have just listed is transparency, accountability, and full and traceable professionalism. I'll repeat that: accountability, transparency, accountability, and full and traceable. Break along this line I have
Okay, now you have mentioned quite a number of
described to you. Any
processes.
tool only going to
Means that
lead. Yeah,
building is not just a walk in the park. Yet, we have not heard of
no, it's
sanctions
not.
so far on those found guilty of unprofessional conduct. Don't you think this is the reason
Okay.
why these have continued?
I would. It would be unfair for me to speak to using this DAPE instance. It would be unfair of me to speak to any instance, any collapse without understanding the specifics. But to your point, which is that if punitives have not been applied, is that why we're seeing a recurrence? I'll be honest with you. If you notice, that chain I listed out for you has a lot of lines of responsibility, of layers and lines of responsibility. So it is almost until you're able to work your way through all of that, and when I say all of that, from the professionals, from the licensed and registered professionals that were involved in the project, to the government agencies that provided the approvals, to the contractors that are delivering, until you walk your way through all of that and identify where responsibility lies, it's almost impossible to determine where culpability will be and where punitives can be applied. That's one. Two, even where we know of many instances, some in Abuja, some in Lagos, where it has been glaring what the issues have been, but unfortunately things are not followed through. Now I can't, I'm not in the I'm not an authority in that sense I'm not in the legal services, or I'm not in the government services to speak to why some of these findings are not carried through. But as I said, there are many lines you need to go through to establish responsibility.
Okay, we hope that there will be sanctions so that we'll put an end to this, because probably that could be the reason why it's going on, unabated and all that. Finally, your advice to all the stakeholders involved in the building process.
Okay, excellent. I would say that regardless of how much we talk about it, regardless of how much state anger there is, regardless of how much news coverage there is, what I have said to you above here will always remain constant. I can guarantee you. It will always remain constant. So it's either you pay now or you pay later. Professionalism has a value to it, but you can choose how you want to pay. You can choose to pay. I don't want to go into details, but you can choose how you want to pay. And it is across that whole value chain. Government, when I say government, I mean state offices and state authorities, professional bodies, and the public at large also has a responsibility to make sure that they are dealing with professionals at all times. It's I can't stress it. I can't stress it enough, because a professional will advise you. I'm looking at the pictures you have on screen now. A professional will advise you if the materials, if the solutions, if the process you're going through are likely to have one sort of risk or the other, and then it's your duty to pay them, to listen to them and all that. So it's, as I said, it's either you pay now or you will pay later. You will pay. There's no going about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Architect Nina Nimibrix, the former chairman, FCT Architects Forum. Thank you for that enlightenment. We have gathered so much knowledge tonight. Thank you for joining us on Saturday Discourse.
Thank you very much. Good night. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. You've heard from him. It's either you pay now or you pay later. Why not just do the right thing so we don't have any payments at all? We now go on a short break. The news continues after this time.
The immediate cause of the latest queues in Abuja remains unknown.
Conceived with the intent to ease the flow of traffic in the nation's capital.
Whichever way it turns out, either to consolidate on the existing mandate or institute a new dispensation.
Located within the Abuja Municipal Area Council, AMAC.
How much do people know about ADR? Are charting a path to having more youth participate in governance, in addition to building young entrepreneurs.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are calling on the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, look into the situation.
You have to strike a balance to have a future that you don't have to regret.
Like experts say, what kills really is fear.
In Abuja,
NTA News.
You're welcome back. The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam, has urged Christians to ensure that they reap from the immense benefits of pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Reverend Pam made the declaration in a forum in Abuja. Francisca Bile was there.
Executive Secretary NCPC said the act of worship, prayers and repentance is a necessity for Christians, noting that the experience of prayers and penance in the Holy Land and birthplace of Jesus Christ can be soul-lifting, with Christians better informed and more equipped to deal with life situations.
We have as a commission on ground that is very important is a savings scheme, knowing that government is withdrawing gradually from sponsorship. So we are going about to sensitize Christians on the need and the necessity for them to embark on pilgrimage, and they can have life saving for that.
Friends and well-wishers from far and near converged to rejoice with the Executive Secretary, with goodwill messages from different Christian Pilgrims Board from some states in Nigeria on his third year in leadership of the Commission.
You came with innovation that redefines pilgrimage in Nigeria, and this has reposed confidence in the Christian community in Nigeria.
By his appointment, he is the third Executive Secretary of the Commission in Abuja. Francisca Bile, NTA News.
And in an attempt to bring divine and lasting solutions to challenges bedeviling the nation, the Evangelical Church Wedding All Equa Abuja is putting modalities in place for the preparation of its annual revival service tagged Occupy Till I Come. Cecilia Julius reports that the representatives of the church call on all and sundry to be part of the life-transforming event.
The revival service, prayerfully set up, seeks to prefer spiritual, global and national solution for the attainment of a better nation and society. Acting Senior Pastor Reverend Chukwuemeka Okonkwo made this known in an interaction with journalists.
Our nation at this point in time needs prayer and God-fearing men and women whom are committed to obeying God and doing His will in all areas of life. This revival offers the church and all invited guests an opportunity to see God's face, cry for His intervention in our personal life, in the family and church, and the nation at large.
And this coming revival also will serve as a reawakening to revive us to what Jesus has committed to our hands.
And our desire to meet the purpose of God for our lives, we trust that God will visit us. And so we are calling on all and sundry to come and meet with God here, because Nigeria needs God.
They urge members of the public to attend the program, the life-transforming occasion, with a call to Christian faithful to be reminded of the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Cecilia Julius, NTA News.
Let's join our sports desk for Sports Brief.
Nigeria's contingent to the 2023 World Para-Athletics Championships on Friday night departed for Paris, France, venue for the event set to run from 8 to 17 July. Beijing Olympics gold medalist Iyazi Njidika leads 4 other athletes, which includes Birmingham's 2022 gold medalist Goodness Nwachukwu and Rio Olympics shot put champion Loretta Onye. President of the Para-Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Rafiu Eti, says he is optimistic the athletes will perform in Paris, while Technical Director Abdulaziz Ali stated that the team is primed and ready to do the country proud. Nigeria's best performance at the championships was at the 2015 edition, where Onye grabbed a solitary gold as she threw a distance of 7.72 in her first attempt to break the world record. Meanwhile, Heartland FC of Owerri clinched the 2022-2023 Nigeria National League title following a 2-0 win over Kano Pillars on Friday evening, with the victory crowning their impressive unbeaten run through the season. The Nays Millionaires broke the deadlock in the 56th minute through a dazzling run and a composed finish by Francis Erikan before Fabian Omaka doubled the lead 20 minutes on after being set up beautifully by Chidebere Ajoku in the 76th minute. To cap up an eventful season, Heartland also finished their campaign unbeaten, winning 6 of their 10 games during the regular round, while drawing the remaining 4, plus scraping 2 wins from the games during the promotional playoffs, drawing only to FC1 Rocket. With Sports Brief, Wayne Dugu, NTA News.
And Sports Brief concludes our package tonight. We thank you for watching. See you next week for another discussion. Good evening.